Washington Sea Grant Fellowships. We've done introductions, and I just want to share before we jump into everything a little bit about Washington Sea Grant in the context of what we do big picture and how the fellowships fit into that. So Washington Sea Grant 101. So essentially, Washington Sea Grant is an organization. As an organization, we envision and work towards healthy, productive, and resilient coastal and marine ecosystems that sustain Washington's rich cultural and maritime heritage, our vibrant coastal communities, clean waters and beaches, prosperous fisheries, aquaculture, diverse wildlife, and an engaged public. So as you can tell, we pretty much have our hands in everything marine and coastal in Washington. We also maintain a strong commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, which we do by pursuing diverse perspectives and enhancing cultural understanding while working to create equitable access to resources and opportunities for Washington's communities, while seeking to incorporate everyone's voices and priorities into all that we do. Our values are informed by environmental justice and based in a culture of inclusion, respect, long-term engagement, and accountability. So as some of you may know, Washington Sea Grant is one of 34 state Sea Grant programs across the US and US territories. And is part of a national network where we are all funded by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And Sea Grant programs, we differ in size and structure across the network. Many programs, but not all, are housed at universities, and Washington Sea Grant is housed at the University of Washington, but we serve all of Washington with many partners across the state. We implement our NOAA funding at the state level in response to the needs of coastal communities and ecosystems. And to do this, all Sea Grant programs support research, education, and community outreach and engagement activities aligned with our mission, while leveraging really robust and creative communication strategies to disseminate knowledge and inspire responsible use of our marine resources. As an organization, we are composed of many people. We have supported researchers and students investigating coastal and marine issues affecting Washington's waters. We have a team of extension agents up and down that work and live up and down the coast, team of educators working with K through 12 audiences, a team of general and science communicators and operations staff, and many, many partners in the state and region, including local and state agencies, nonprofits, tribes, private industry, and many, many academic partners. So one of the big things we do is around research, and every other year we put out an RFP, or request for proposals, so that we can distribute around $2 million in grant funding for marine science and education research. And we fund work by researchers that come from universities, again, nonprofits, tribes, and other groups in the state, with the goal of advancing knowledge that helps people to sustainably use and enjoy our marine resources. Our outreach or extension staff participate in their own research or social science, and they are conveners of many types of consortiums and working groups. We have folks with really advanced facilitation skills and provide numerous types of advisory services, with some examples listed here. This picture is from one of our marine safety trainings, where we have some of our staff who actually are experts in providing safety trainings to commercial fishermen. And then our communications team uses print, digital, and social media platforms to distribute tons of information to diverse audiences around the state. We have an education program that includes things like Orca Bowl, which is a regional high school marine science knowledge competition that we put on every winter as part of the National Ocean Sciences Bowl. We run a summer camp called NOAA Science Camp for middle schoolers that offers training in a range of skills that reflect kind of some broad ocean literacy principles, as well as the scientific, kind of the range of scientific expertise that is represented by the many, many folks working with NOAA. And then fellowships. So our fellowships program supports kind of the overall Sea Grant mission by providing graduate and undergraduate opportunities in coastal science, coastal management, and marine policy. And the overall vision of the fellowship program is to build a diverse ocean workforce. We operate towards that mission of increasing the number of diversity of higher education graduates who are well-equipped to help us address the most pressing coastal and ocean issues facing Washington and the country as a whole. And so some of the benefits of our fellowship programs include access to employment positions, projects, spaces, and processes, and maybe not typically available in an entry-level position at an agency or organization. Really intentional mentorship focused on fellow professional development and launching your career. Extensive networking opportunities internally at your host organization with project-related external partners, but also through Washington Sea Grant staff, our extensive in-state and national network, as well as through the broad network of past and current fellows across the state and country. And then many of our fellowships also come with dedicated professional development funds that allow fellows to pursue additional learning and networking opportunities. And this slide is just kind of a fun visual representing some of the people and organizations that make up the heart and soul of our science and policy fellowships. Some of our current and past fellows, and a sampling of some of the host organizations that offer our really, really valuable work experiences and mentorship to these impressive early career professionals. Excuse me. So getting down to like the specifics of what's happening right now. This is a list of the fellowships we'll be discussing today. And I think maybe Asalia, at some point, could you drop a link in the chat just to our, like the main fellowships webpage?
Definitely.
Which kind of hosts all of these opportunities. So we have four opportunities that are actually open now or very soon. And three of these are national, what we call our national fellowships, and one of them is an in-state fellowship. So Knauss, NIMFS, and the Coastal Management Digital Coast Fellowships. Applications are open for those right now. And those are all, you apply through your local Sea Grant program, and then you get nominated to the national level where the final decisions are made. And then the Puget Sound Science Graduate Fellowship, that's a Washington Sea Grant program. And then we have a whole bunch of programs opening in the winter and spring, including the Hirschman, the Keystone, the Washington Sea Grant Coastal Resilience Fellowship, which is a new one, our Science Communications Fellowship, and our Washington Applied Sustainability Internship. So let's first talk about opportunities that are open now or opening like very soon, as in like in the next week. So the Knauss Fellowship, this is a one-year opportunity that matches grad students with hosts in the legislative and executive branches of the United States government based in Washington, D.C. So this opportunity is not located in Washington State or any of the state Sea Grant program states. This is based, you would be based in D.C. It's open to any student enrolled in a graduate degree granting program at an accredited college or university between the fall terms of this year and February 15th, 2025. You don't need to have a specific degree to be eligible, but just a very demonstrable interest in ocean and coastal or Great Lakes resources, and the national policy decisions that affect those regions and resources. So again, fellows selected into this fellowship would either be placed with the executive branch of the government. So these are the agencies that are sort of like their work is mandated by the Office of the President, and include things like NOAA, USGS, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of State, the EPA. Hopefully, I'm just going to say this, hopefully all of those agencies continue to exist far into the future and host Knauss fellows. Legislative branch fellows will often work with former fellows who have been posted there and then hired, and often work on sort of like hot topics and not always directly related to ocean and Great Lakes states. So you might work for you'll work for the Senate or House of Representatives, and you might work in the personal office of a senator or congressperson, or you might work on a committee tasked with a certain type of work. And the fellows who are placed in the ledge branch are split equally across the majority and minority offices, which means like across political parties. So that's always something to keep in mind. And usually there's around 40 executive positions, 15 to 20 legislative fellowship positions, often more than that. And so here is the 2026 Knauss Fellowship timeline. Again, this fellowship application is due in February 2025, and you'll see from this timeline by the bolded dates that the fellowship itself doesn't start until February of 2026. So it's a long selection process, and people need to be really aware of that when applying. And so the deadline for the Knauss is, again, February 19th, 5 p.m. in 2025. We accept all applications for all of our fellowships through our online submission portal, EC Grant. Folks first need to register for an EC Grant account, which is pretty straightforward, but you can reach out with any questions or issues. And you can access EC Grant through the Washington Sea Grant Fellowships page. The 2026, and I think this was updated, so this is no longer the 2024 numbers. I think these are the 2026 fellowship numbers. Salary and stipend, $73,100, and that's split over 24 pay periods, so twice monthly payments. And then $5,000 in allowable expenses, which refers to that professional development fund that can be used for conferences, training, work-related travel, academic expenses. And then for legislative fellows, there's an additional funding to support travel to DC for in-person matching and placement. And then some host offices contribute additional funds to support travel that they require the fellows to do. And then again, applications are due to Washington Sea Grant on February 19th, which kicks off the state level review process. Washington Sea Grant reviews applications, interviews candidates, and then we are allowed to nominate up to 6 nominees to the national level review, where ultimately fellows are selected. Let me see, what else do I want to say about that? Usually fellows are selected at the national level by probably June of each year. And I think that's probably all I need to say about that. Just again, it is a long application process. Like it takes a year, as you can see from the slide. And then I can pause just to see if there are questions at all that folks have. And maybe Salia, I can't see people, so if anyone has a raised hand or anything in the chat, you can let me know.
I don't see any questions in the chat currently. Henrik, I see a thumbs up. Do you have a question?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no questions.
Great. Okay, so next fellowship is the NOAA Coastal Management Fellowship, which is unique in that it is a 2-year fellowship that provides on-the-job training in coastal resource management and policy by matching post-grad students with designated state coastal zone management agencies. And the projects that are, the states that are hosting projects, I think, are probably online now that the fellowship is open, but we didn't have them in time to update this slide. Every year there are different states that host these 2-year-long fellowships, and you apply through your state Sea Grant, your home state Sea Grant program. And then if you're selected as a finalist, you ultimately can match to any of the states that are hosting coastal management fellows that year. The eligibility window for this fellowship is broader. So it's open to grad students that will complete their degree at an accredited university between August 2023 and July 2025. You have to be a US citizen for this one, but it is open to a wide range of existing degrees. I personally was a Coastal Zone Management Fellow with Washington State's Department of Ecology from 2008 to 2010, a million years ago, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the process or the experience. I will say that if you are selected, again, you get nominated by Washington Sea Grant, and then if you're selected as a finalist by the national review process, you do attend a matching workshop, which is 1 week long in Charleston, South Carolina, where typically there are twice as many finalists as there are fellowships. And during that week, there's a series of interviews that take place and a series of presentations. And then host offices and finalists rank each other. And then the Office of Coastal Management takes those ranks and makes matches based on trying to get everyone their highest possible rank. So between there being like multiple levels of review and then the 50-50 kind of chance of the matching workshop, it's very competitive, but it's a very cool program. And even the matching workshop, I think, has a lot of benefits to participation, whether or not you come out of it with a fellowship. And then the start date for this fellowship is August 1st, 2025. I am going to kind of skip over this one right now because the eligibility for this fellowship is to be a current PhD student, which I don't think applies to anyone in the Zoom room today, but something to keep an eye on if you ever do go into a PhD program in fisheries, that we do have a fellowship program that funds 2 to 3 years for PhD students focusing on either population and ecosystem dynamics or marine resource economics. And of course, if you know anyone who might be interested, you can definitely spread the word about that opportunity. And then I think I have some of these slides out of order. So there is one opportunity that I'm going to come back to at the end that is open now, but I'm going to jump ahead to fellowships opening winter, spring 2025, starting with the Hirschman Fellowship. So I think some of y'all are aware of this fellowship. The original idea behind the Hirschman was that it was modeled after the Knauss Fellowship, which was matching hosts with these different agencies or students, fellows with different agencies to work on these marine science and policy topics, but transferring that over to at the state level. And so in this case, selected fellows are matched into a 12-month fellowship with a host office based here in Washington. And while Knauss fellows work with executive or legislative hosts at the federal government level, Hirschman fellows are placed with various state level agencies, tribes, or nonprofits to work on projects developed by those host offices covering a wide range of marine science and policy topics. Occasionally, we also do have federal hosts that are based here. So we've had a couple fellows who have worked for local Seattle-based NOAA branch offices, and that's occasionally an option as well. And then mentorship is a cornerstone, again, of all of our fellowship programs, including, of course, the Hirschman Fellowship. The stipend for the Hirschman Fellowship is $65,000 over the course of the year, again, divided into 24 pay periods, twice monthly, plus $3,500 in professional development funds that the student has a lot of discretion over how they choose to use those. And here are a few examples of the host office placements. You can also look on our website to see like who are the current host offices? Who have the last few years, most recent host offices been? We have a lot of repeat host offices every year. And I'm seeing not only a typo, but like the use of the Swedish letter A at the end of the word partnership. Anyway, so these are some examples of host offices. And then Hirschman application process. So this opportunity is not open yet. We have not finalized the timeline for the 2025 process, but generally speaking, this is the timeline that the Hirschman runs on. So we will open the fellowship sometime in early spring, probably early April or late March, and the deadline to apply will be sometime in May. We always hold a 2-day fellow matching workshop in mid-June, usually just after UW commencement. We hold interviews, we review applications, we hold interviews to select finalists to attend that matching workshop. And then it's kind of similar to what I described for the coastal management matching workshop, but instead of a week, it just happens over 2 days. Fellows do presentations for each other and all the host offices. Host offices do presentations about their projects and their organization. And then the second day is all short interviews with all the host offices. We do some social sort of networking activities as well. And then the fellowship starts mid-September 2025. As always, applications can be submitted through EC Grant. I know we have some interest in the Hirschman Fellowship here today, so I just want to pause and see if we have any questions about the Hirschman.
Yeah, I see it says apply using EC Grant. Is that so? EC Grant is just something that we need to go in and like create an account for? Like how does that work?
Yep, that's exactly right. So it is our, it's like a proprietary to a lot of Sea Grant programs use it. It's just an online submission portal. We use it to accept applications to our research funding competitions, to all of our fellowship programs, even to some of our job opportunities for students. And so we can probably put the link to EC Grant in the chat so that you can kind of take a look at the login page. It's pretty straightforward. You create an account, and once you do that, it'll take you to a page where you can see any and all opportunities that are currently available to apply for. And then you would go into the one that you're interested in and start an application. And then you'll see all of the application sort of modules and instructions. For most of our fellowships, it includes things like a CV or resume, a personal goals statement with certain different criteria. It'll include an upload opportunity to provide your transcripts. It'll include a module that allows you to invite letters of recommendation writers to submit letters for you through EC Grant. And then it automates sending an email to those letter writers and gives them all the information they need to know in the deadlines. And then they submit those letters directly into EC Grant. Pretty straightforward, but also always ask us any questions if you run into any snags with EC Grant.
And we have dropped the portal website in the chat for you to check out.
I see that. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. We can always come back to any of these fellowships. I'm just going to jump ahead to the next one we're going to talk about today, which is the Washington Sea Grant Keystone Fellowship. So the Keystone in many ways is similar to the Hirschman Fellowship, but it does apply an explicit kind of equity and racial justice lens to all elements of the program. Selected fellows are matched again for 12 months with a host office based in Washington State. And that can be with state agencies, tribes, or nonprofits to work on projects developed by those host offices that can cover a wide range of marine science and policy topics. Additionally, though, the Keystone program is really explicitly seeking to develop and reinforce pathways into marine science and policy careers for folks who are historically underrepresented in this work. The eligibility for this fellowship, it does not have any sort of like demographic eligibility criteria. We are just asking folks who apply to this to really demonstrate through either lived experiences or work that they have done, or either like project work, academic work, personal work, to show and demonstrate to us how their participation in the fellowship will advance the goals of the fellowship, expanding participation in marine science and policy careers. Both host offices and mentors must demonstrate a shared commitment to the advancement of environmental and racial justice and equity in order to be selected as part of the program. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say about that. Again, we currently do not have a timeline, an updated timeline for the next cycle of the Keystone Fellowship, but we would at this point anticipate that the next round will open in spring or summer of 2025, with a fellow starting in fall of 2025. And the Keystone Fellowship usually has just one fellow at a time, but we do try to overlap those fellows so that they within themselves have a cohort. But our Keystone Fellows also kind of form a large cohort with our current Hirschman Fellows and potentially some of our other new fellowship programs that are starting next year. All right, Washington Sea Grant Science Communications Fellowship. So this is a unique fellowship in that it is open to current grad students who are based in Washington State at any institution. And the fellowship lasts for 2 academic quarters. It's a paid fellowship, just like all of our fellowships. The next fellowship will be open winter and spring of 2020 for winter and spring of 2025. However, that is the fellowship period that is, wait, no, okay, hold on, back up. This is actually, this should be in the other section because this fellowship actually is open right now. With the 2-quarter overlapping thing, it gets a little bit confusing, but we are currently seeking applicants to the Washington Sea Grant Science Communications Fellowship. The current deadline to apply is January 3rd, 2025. These fellows assist with a variety of communications projects in close partnership with our amazing communications team. So writing articles for our print C-Star newsletter, developing a variety of web content, conducting interviews, creating videos, doing social media posts, also participating in a lot of our outreach events where we're kind of tabling or have booths to teach people more about what Washington Sea Grant does. Application requirements, kind of the standard, cover letter, transcripts, recommendations, but also 2 to 3 writing samples are required for this opportunity. The currently open application is see, I need to double check this. Asalia, I feel like the winter spring fellowship is actually for undergrads. Is that wrong?
I can double check that. One second.
Because so here's what we do. We have a fall winter fellow, which I believe is a grad student. We have a winter spring fellow, which I believe is an undergrad. And then we have a spring summer fellow, which is again a grad student. So folks like, Tegan at SMEA, this is something that you would be eligible for as a current grad student. But the information is on our website and how to apply again through EC Grant. But any questions, let us know. And then we'll get back to you with eligibility. Okay, this is another opportunity that should have been part of the Open Now opportunities. This is another opportunity. This is a brand new fellowship program. It's open to current grad students in support of grad student master's level research that aligns with and contributes to projects identified or topics identified in the Puget Sound Science Work Plan that has just been updated for 2025-29. So on our website, you can go and see the various criteria. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. That are listed under that work plan and kind of priority science actions that the Puget Sound Partnership has identified. This is funded by the partnership, and it provides an award of $60,000 for per year for up to 2 years in support of graduate research. And the money can be applied very flexibly to the needs of the graduate student, whether it covers their grad student salary or their research supplies or activities, education-related expenses like tuition, fees, benefits, et cetera. So it's unique in that sense that it provides that funding, and that funding can be used however the grad student most needs it. And then this opportunity requires that a letter of intent be submitted by January 10th, and the application deadline is January 13th, and then the award is starts May 1st. And then another brand new fellowship that will be opening at some point in 2025. Again, this one is a little bit more nascent. We don't have timelines for this one really yet at all, except we know that we want the fellows to probably start early fall 2025. The goal of the Coastal Resilience Fellowship is to enhance coastal resilience capacity for communities and tribes in coastal Washington State. This will primarily focus on communities and tribes located on the Pacific coast of Washington State. Again, it's unique in that it's a 2-year placement, and the fellow would be partnered with a coastal jurisdiction or a community-based organization or a tribe. And really, it's all about capacity. We have folks out on our Pacific coast who are doing all kinds of work to sort of address coastal resilience and coastal hazards challenges that are being enhanced by climate change. And one of the biggest struggles that we find that folks have is just capacity, just people power, technical skills to address those issues. And so this fellowship will ultimately probably have up to 5 fellows beginning each year, being placed and working with those folks, working closely with our new Coastal Resilience Fellowship specialists that we've hired here at Washington Sea Grant, working with our Coastal Resilience team here at Washington Sea Grant, which includes a number of staff members who have expertise in coastal hazards and coastal resilience and things like tsunamis, who spend a lot of time working with these jurisdictions on these challenges. So check our website for updates as that fellowship starts to come online in the next several months, and definitely follow up with any questions that you might have about any of these opportunities.